President Trump has won. On the 14th, he put out a series of tweets that he was heavily criticized for. Many people were offended. They said, this is proof that Trump is racist. And we've heard it for the millionth time. We get it. But in the end, Trump wins. Even after all of the Democrats, even after Nancy Pelosi, Ilhan Omar come together, even after the media, conservatives, and even Republicans criticize Trump, he wins. His approval rating is up at a near all-time high. Right now, his approval rating, according to the average, is the second highest it's been in his presidency in the past 2 years by 1 point, by 0.1. His highest was 45.1. It's at 45 right now in the aggregate. So Trump did it. Even after all of this, he did it. So I'll start off this segment. I normally don't like leading with op-eds, but I will. But I also want to start off with a little bit of levity here. Because, I was thinking about all of the accusations against Trump and why would his approval rating be up after all of this? And I realized, you know what? After the millionth time that he was called a racist, it probably just has zero impact at this point. But then I started to think about something else that was kind of funny. And I'm like, I've been going through my head about whether or not Trump is right or the Democrats are right. And I started thinking about what is Trump doing? Well, Trump is really interested in securing our borders. We've got a great economy. I think about my family members, the jobs, they're looking for jobs. They're able to find work. The economy is doing great. They're saving for retirement, all that good stuff. Then I think about what the Democrats are doing, and their policy position is orange man bad. And then I just realize that's why his approval rating is probably up. Because even at this point, you've only offered up the policy position of, for the most part, orange man bad. Now I get it. Look, I'm being hyperbolic. There are some policy positions being put forward. I've seen a lot from Elizabeth Warren, and I can respect that. Talking about big tech and censorship. Tulsi Gabbard, absolutely respect her, and Andrew Yang. But all we hear from the House Democrats and the mainstream Democratic message has been wokeness and orange man bad. They fight with each other. Nothing gets done. So you know what? In the end, Trump can basically say whatever he wants, offend everybody. They don't care at this point. I think that's what we're saying. They just don't care. Let's read a little bit of the story and then actually take a look at the polls and break this down. I like looking at the aggregate before, after, somebody will make a claim. They'll be like, Trump's doing great. And I'll be like, yeah. Let's look at the data. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you want to support my work. There's a PayPal option, a crypto option, a physical address. But of course, the best thing you can do, share this video. YouTube deranks independent commentary, so I rely on you for word of mouth. If you think what I do is good, then please share it. But outside of that, let's just get back to the news. The Washington Examiner has an op-ed titled, "As Race-Obsessed Media Cries Wolf, Trump Gains in the Polls." Now, I do think Trump's tweets are worthy of criticism, but it doesn't matter. I'm not blind to see that Trump's strategy worked. He's escaped this unscathed. In fact, his approval rating went up. How? He knows what he's doing. Okay, I'm not going to act like he's, a 4D chess god emperor genius. No, but he does have a plan. And it's not just him. He has staff. They know what they're doing. Let's read a little bit. They write in this op-ed, "The media is helping President Trump's re-election effort by its constant, obsessive, nearly unhinged determination to tell their audience for the 2,965th time that Trump's tweets about 4 radical congresswomen were racist. At least 3 respected polls, including one just out today, have shown the backlash those tweets in Trump's favor. I immediately predicted this would happen if the media persisted in its passionate, unprofessional behavior of affixing the racist label to the tweets as if the label were straight news rather than an opinion. As I explained last week, words matter, and wolf cries eventually cause people to get angry at the crier. The word racist, in particular, has been so overused as a pejorative that plenty of non-racist people at least tune it out and sometimes revolt against it. Completely agree. 100%. And here we have this story. Trump approval rating hits record high in new poll. This is the second time we've heard this story in the past week. And I want to stress, look, I try to keep on this channel a conversation about the core issues that I believe are like the biggest stories that affect policy, and things like that. And we've seen this over and over again. While there have been scandals involving Trump, in the end, Trump pulls ahead. So I'm going to do a story. I'm going to assess the facts. Trump's approval rating hits record high following the outrage from nearly everybody about his tweets. What does that tell you? I think it tells us two things. The American people are sick and tired of rhetoric. They're sick and tired of orange man bad. That means even when Trump puts it out, they don't care about his Twitter. Do they? I don't think so. They like, I'm sure there are many people who criticize Trump going on Twitter. There's a lot of people in certain polls. But in the end, does it affect their opinion of the economy, of American foreign policy? I don't believe so. I believe the American people have tuned out the bickering, but the Democrats haven't. So when Trump puts this tweet out, the political sphere ignites and everyone says, oh, Trump, how dare he? And Trump knows middle America couldn't give a damn. I don't think I'm allowed to say damn either. But Trump knows it. And so the Democrats react accordingly, spiral out of control, and then look really bad, off message, get nothing done. And Trump leaves with record high approval ratings. Check this out. The National Review writes, well into his third year in office, President Trump's approval rating has reached a record high, according to a poll released Monday. Trump's approval rating hit 44% in the new NPR NewsHour Marist poll, the highest level at which it's been recorded in any mainstream opinion poll, with the exception of a July 7 Washington Post poll that recorded 47% approval. Now, I want to make sure they stress it's mainstream opinion poll. So these are talking about the big news media. Rasmussen has Trump plus 50 right now. They tend to be very favorable to the president. They say respondents were surveyed from July 15th, July 17th, in the days following the president's tweet instructing 4 freshman congresswomen of color to go back to their home countries. Since taking office, Trump's approval rating has hovered between 35 and 43% in the Marist poll. The poll, which included responses from 1,336 adults, also found that Trump has won over a small but significant group of independents in the last month. His approval rating among independents increased from 35% last month to 42% in the latest poll. Meanwhile, the percentage of respondents who said they will definitely vote against Trump remained unchanged from last month at 53%. So don't get me wrong, I am not a big fan of the polls. We see a lot of polls claiming Trump can't beat Biden or Buttigieg or Bernie. They say that he'll be down several points, but I gotta stress, donations, I believe, are actions that speak louder than the words. If someone says they'll vote against Trump, I hear you, but when someone throws money at Trump and then someone else doesn't throw money at the Democrats, I don't believe it. The RNC has outraised the Democrats nearly 2-1 for the past several months, and they've got like 43 million or so cash on hand, no debt. Democrats have like 9 million cash on hand and 5 million in debt. Actions speak louder than words. So take these polls with a grain of salt, but I have to stress, if we're judging the approval rating of Trump based on the past approval rating from the same aggregates, it does mean something. If the Washington Post does a poll and a year ago found 40% and today find 44%, that's a relative gain. So I don't trust polls, I don't, but looking at them, from the same methodology and the same structure, we do see Trump gaining. They go on to say, while Trump gained ground among independents, Democrats remain unpopular with the group. 43% of respondents in the poll said they believe Democrats would take the country in a positive direction if given the opportunity, compared with 46% who said the party would lead the country in a negative direction. I gotta say, I have very little faith in Democrats, mostly because there's no strong leadership. If you watched my video on my second channel earlier, name somebody in the Democratic Party right now, anybody, not even someone running, who has the strength and charisma Obama did. Again, you don't got to like Obama's policies. The point is he had way more than any of these people. They don't have what it takes. Not only that, there's too much embracing of the woke identitarianism that I do not believe is positive for this country. Nor am I enthused by what we can see on the Republican side. But I gotta say this, man. My people, like my family, my friends, the people I grew up with, were always Democrats, and they are not having it right now. Not all of them, but most of them I talk to say they're probably going to vote independent. And that's surprising to me because it's no longer a battle of the lesser of two evils. It's literally two evils that can't get worse for these people who are like, just count me out. And I think that's what we're going to see. Let's read on. They say, independents are on the fence overall. There you go, right? That's what I'm saying. Said Lee Miringoff, director of the Marist Institute for Public Opinion at Marist College. They're not willing to grant President Trump re-election, and yet they're not persuaded by Democrats at this point, because what are Democrats offering me? That was the joke I made in the beginning. I look over at Trump, and he says, the economy's great, the free trade agreements were bad, we're doing away with them, we got a new agreement, we're dealing with immigration, we're going to solve this problem. And I'm like, I hear you. Democrats, what can you offer? And they look at me and go, orange man bad. And I'm like, oh. Let me weigh those options as how it's going to benefit my family and this country. And, and it doesn't. It's just meaningless rhetoric. So when Trump puts out the naughty words, people are like, don't care. When the Democrats then say, hey, Trump's bad for saying naughty words, don't care. Tell me something substantive. What do? They go on the debate stage and say, okay, how about this? We give health care to non-citizens. And I'm like, what? Welcome to America. The Democrats, I think, are losing it. And look, I'm an independent, man. They say, while trust in Democrats remain low, a number of progressive policy proposals espoused by most of the 2020 Democratic presidential contenders performed well. Requiring background checks for all gun purchases received 89% support. Hey, I think I actually lean in that direction, although I'm not an expert, so I'd like to have the conversation, but that sounds fine to me. Medicare for all who want it received 70% support before dropping off to just 41% when respondents were told the proposal would include the elimination of the private insurance market. And how many people on the debate stage raised their hand for abolishing private insurance? Only a few, but enough. So I gotta say, I do like the idea of a public option, the ability for the public to buy in to Medicare, admitting, I used to be very pro universal health care. I still am technically, but I think it's a massive, massive feat that's going to be damn near impossible to implement. So we've got to figure out what gains we can make in the meantime. So I do think universal health care is something to strive for. Don't know if we can get there in anytime soon. So we need to have a real discussion about how to move forward. Very disappointed in Obama in that regard, though I get he tried, he didn't pull it off. They say more radical progressive proposals such as decriminalizing illegal border crossings, 27%, and paying reparations, 27%, proved less popular. And I got to say, this all leads into why I think Trump is doing so well. But let's do this. We can take that article at its word. They do highlight one poll that, a couple polls I think aren't actually in here. But let's take a look at the actual RCP average. Right now, we can see that according to the Real Clear Politics aggregate, going back to the beginning of this month, at least for the what they have listed here, we can see that Trump is at 45.0 and a few days ago hit 45.1. Now that's interesting because that 45, so that 45.1 is the highest it's been in 2 years. That's why it's interesting. And currently back up to 45, just shy of the highest point in 2 years. So Trump's had a good run of it in the past couple of weeks. And this is actually going back, where was that 45.1? That was July 9th. So he's doing phenomenally well. And again, this is relative to the same poll. So while I take these polls with a grain of salt, for all we know, Trump's approval with the American population is way higher or way lower. It doesn't matter. It's relative to themselves. So we can take a look up here. We can see NPR PBS Marist showing a 44% approval rating, which is up, 10 points from where they had him a year ago. And we can see Rasmussen, and then we can see Reuters Ipsos, as well as Economist YouGov. These 4 polls took place just after Trump's tweets. And we can see that although the spread isn't great, his average is. Trump's approval rating is at a near, it's the second highest it's been in the past 2 years. And if we try and lump these past couple of weeks, like per month, Trump's approval rating for July is the highest it's been in 2 years. And check this out. Just to be fair on this, let's look at the max. And it goes back to the highest point, which was, I believe, 46. Is it just 46? It's hard to get a precise reading on this. Around 46 back in February of 2017, right when he got elected. Then his disapproval spiked. The Orange Man bad narrative dominated the press. And Trump had a real low point of around an aggregate at like 37. And today it's way up. So I stress this. I always like to look at the aggregate because individual polls can be, they're all biased. But there it is. That's the point I'm making in the beginning. You can criticize Trump all you want, but I'll tell you this. When his approval rating retains a near all-time high, following his tweets, it shows you the American people don't care about what you're preaching, Democrats. They do not. The media is just pandering to the woke left and the Democrats to get their views, to get those clicks, to sell those ads, and it is not resonating with the core of the American people. Unless you think all of these polls are wrong. Like, even though the point I'm making is that, Rasmussen's poll relative to itself a year ago has gone up. Marist poll relative to itself has gone up. Fine. I don't care about what the number is. I care about the fact that it's higher than it's been based on their own polls relative to a year ago, period. But let's talk about, I've got a few stories I want to highlight to talk about what I think is having a big impact on 2020. And I've kind of done this for the past few videos. Trump fires back at Ilhan Omar. I will win Minnesota because of you. This is the core point about what it means to win, okay? What did Trump do? He made Ilhan Omar one of the most recognizable Democrats on purpose. And that's why. He wants to win Minnesota, and he wants her to be the symbol of the Democratic Party, knowing that he can say all of these things, and he can admit it, and he won't lose in the polls. Remember what he said? He said something like he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and wouldn't lose a voter. Trump knows this, has known this. The American people, in my opinion at least, want substance. And they don't care if they don't care if Orange Man bad. Let's just say it straight up. The core American voters don't care if Orange Man bad. And I think we should learn that lesson by now. Sure, Democrats do, but they've always thought Orange Man bad. It means nothing. So he can be the bad man all day and night, and the media can say it over and over again, and the regular Americans are like, great, I get it. Am I going to get a wage increase? Are my kids going to go to school? So let's do this. I want to highlight this now. This is seemingly non sequitur, but trust me, it is, let me zoom out. It is relevant. I'll probably do a deeper dive into this as a secondary segment, but I just want to stress Jerry Seinfeld, Ricky Gervais fight for the right to joke about anything versus PC police. I'll get into this in depth because there's critical pieces of it, but I wanted to highlight what's going on with wokeness and political correctness played a huge role in Trump's approval and his election. When Jerry Seinfeld and Ricky Gervais put out a segment saying straight up, yes, there is a problem you must recognize to mainstream Americans. These are high-profile comedians they love and have loved for years, decades even. So when they see these individuals saying, yeah, there's a problem, it resonates with them. And Trump is the one tackling that problem. My Uber driver today said, he said he was a conservative, but he was just sick and tired of the PC nonsense, and he was glad Trump was just not having it. And that's what people think. It's not so much about, at least for some conservatives, whether they care if Trump is tweeting. It's that they like it. So think about this. While the Democrats don't like it, people in the middle and middle America are like, yeah, we get it. Trump's bad. Am I going to get a raise? And then conservatives are laughing, saying, good, push back. Tell these people what for. And there you go. You end up with Trump's approval rating being higher than it's been. And you can just see the overall unhinged, weird behavior from the left that Trump has propped up. So this once again plays into the point I'm trying to make about Trump's strategy and how he's winning this battle. Propping up Ilhan Omar and Ocasio-Cortez, meanwhile, his approval rating soars. Ocasio-Cortez, this is a Daily Wire story. Ocasio-Cortez promotes unsubstantiated conspiracy about Trump. And I think it's a little biased way to frame it. But Ocasio-Cortez talking about a story where some Louisiana police officer, one guy, shouldn't have done it, posted that she needed a round. It's a veiled threat to AOC. Wrong. Absolutely detestable. Look, I think I'll say this. Republicans, you should be loving that Ilhan Omar and Ocasio-Cortez are in office, and you should wish that they remain safely in office to carry out their terms and get reelected. Because they're making the Democrats look bad, okay? But this language from this Louisiana police officer is way over the line. Admittedly, it's some random dude on the internet, fine. But the point is, AOC then claims it's Trump's goal when he does this. Oh, please, dude. Trump's goal is to make you say things like this so you look nuts. Some Louisiana police officer posted something obscene, offensive, and a veiled threat. It is detestable and disgusting, and we can all agree on that. But no. There's no plan from Trump to try and make this happen. That is ridiculous. Now, the Daily Wire frames it as a conspiracy. I think we can chill out on that. The point is, Trump wants AOC to screech as loud as possible. Because the poll from Axios, that was it precipitated this basically, shows in swing states, non-college educated white voters have a very unfavorable view of AOC and Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar, 9%. This is why. They're egotists, they're narcissists, they're arrogant, and they're not offering substance. In fact, the opposite. The Green New Deal was nonsense. They wouldn't even vote on it themselves. You get Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez screwing up the Amazon deal. Where is the substance from Democrats? It's just not there. It's not there. Look, I get it. Elizabeth, I'm going to throw out respect to Elizabeth Warren. I've done it several times because I actually did see a plan where she tackled the problem of big tech, which I believe is one of the biggest problems we have. And Tulsi Gabbard talking about war, free speech, big tech. There are real Democrats with proposals. And I am no fan of Elizabeth Warren, but she does get my respect for tackling these issues. I am a fan of Tulsi Gabbard, I will add. But this stuff we see from AOC, the point I'm trying to make about the Democrats here is obviously there are some good ones. Obviously there are some good policies. But what the media presents because of Trump is the sheer absurdity from Ilhan Omar, AOC, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, okay, coming out and saying we need a $20 minimum wage. That is what Trump wants. Because we can all agree that there needs to be reasonable boundaries. I'm sure there are Democrats saying maybe it's time for an increase. You just voted for $15, and what does Rashida do? Now it should be 20. Great. Now they look unreasonable. More. Push out this nonsense. I think for reasonable people, Trump's plan worked. And that's why I said it. I opened up with Trump won. His approval rating is at a 2-year high. What does that say? It says that people either don't care or they like what he's doing, at the very least. So for the most part, look, I want to stress, his approval rating is still less than 50% from most of these polls, except for Rasmussen. So I think a lot of people probably don't like it, but the fact that it's going up, consider this. Trump's approval rating is not as good as it could be, less than 50, but going up. That means there are people who didn't like Trump, and then something happened in the past couple of weeks that he did something, and they're like, now I like this guy. What does that mean? Trump has the Republicans for the most part, not all of them. What did he do or say that made people actually like him? Perhaps it was his strategy to, cause damage to the Democrats because it's, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that it's like a Family Guy joke where, I can't remember exactly what happens, but some rich person hires an ugly woman to hang out with Meg. If you don't know about Family Guy, Meg is just like considered frumpy and ugly. And they hire an ugly woman to stand next to her so she looks better. She looks better by contrast. And then all of a sudden someone walks by and goes, wow, Meg, did you get less ugly? And then she pulls the ugly woman. Like, the point is, when you place Trump next to the squad, maybe that does make him look better no matter how bad he is. And he knows it. So anyway, you get the point. I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment will be at youtube.com/TimCastNews starting at 6 p.m. The podcast is at 6:30 p.m. Every day. It's a different order, but thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all in the next story.